Alright, hi guys, it's Matt here. So I decided to take on a project here. It's middle of November, actually late November. It's the day before Thanksgiving right now here in Colorado. So the temperatures are starting to drop. We've had a pretty warm fall and early winter so far, but as the temperatures are starting to drop, the water is starting to freeze over. So I decided to take on a project to hopefully insulate my water so that way it doesn't freeze over, or at least freeze over so thick to where I can't break it up in the wintertime, and my horse Lucky here can't break it up himself. The reason I decided to try to insulate the water tank was because my horse's pen is about 150 feet away from the nearest power source here. So in the winter in the past, I've had to run a long expensive extension cord from the house all the way over here, which I know isn't really good, especially with the 1500 watt floating water heater. And also I have some dogs, and I have an English bull terrier that likes to mess things up if she can, and she's got to my extension cords a few times. Luckily they weren't plugged in. There's a couple holes in this hose too as well. With that being said, she's a new dog. This will be her first winter where she'll be outside, and I don't want her chewing through, first of all, the expensive cords, and second of all, chewing through them while they're plugged in and electrocuting herself. Lucky wants to say hi. So the project I took on is to insulate this Rubbermaid stock tank here. It's just a typical type that you find at your farm supply stores. It's made out of the structural foam. It's a 100-gallon tank. So when I've looked online to purchase insulated stock tanks, they're usually 25 to 40 gallons max, because they're meant to be on a self-water system. Well, I don't have water hooked up out here. I have to run it through a hose, so I need a lot of water, because there's plenty of days, there might be a week straight where I won't be able to run water through this hose because it'll get frozen in the winter. So I need to be able to store a good amount of water and be able to insulate it so that way it doesn't freeze over or freeze over hard. So there's my tank there. Then I'll go ahead and take you inside my garage and show you the project I have going on. Alright, so I skipped over the walk through the house and to my garage here. So this is where I've been working on my project. For the most part completed, I just have to finish painting it. So what I got here is my box that I made to fit, as you can see I have another stock tank here that I've been using for my measurements. I basically made this box here out of 3/4 inch OSB. I think it's actually 23 30-seconds. Got from local lumberyard. I went ahead and got these brackets. I don't know if you can see them there. They're just the metal brackets. And I used that to bolt them together. I measured up to where, with this OSB and this insulation foam combined, would be exactly as wide as the stock tank, the rim around the stock tank. So in theory, and I've tested it out and it does work, when it goes over the stock tank, these edges mesh up right alongside the stock tank. The other thing is, here's the lid here. I built this same OSB board. You'll see the 2x3s that I have as braces, and the only reason I did that is because, oops, it's wet paint. The only reason I did that is because they're actually two pieces of OSB that I cut and measured, or measured and cut, so that way I didn't have to buy another sheet of OSB. So just been a little thrifty, and then I just caulked, as you can see this seam there, I just caulked that seam so water can't get through there. And then I put a 14-inch hole on one side of the stock tank, hopefully keeping water, or the cold air, from getting inside there as much and freezing over the water, because we're going to lose a lot of heat from not only the sides but the top as well. Excuse me. The other thing you'll see is, it's kind of hard to see here, but I have the same 2-inch insulation foam. I paid like 30 bucks a sheet. Ended up using 2 sheets total, and I was a little thrifty with them. I cut them up to make them fit and stuff so I could make the whole sheets. That's all I had left of my 2-inch insulation there. But anyways, I glued it to the other side of this, as you can see here, probably better. And I also measured this to where when it sits on top of that box, you can see how there's a little lip here. Wet again. There's a little bit of a lip where the OSB overlaps the insulation board. That's designed so that way when I put the lid on top of here, the lid will never be secured. It fits in nice and snug. It fits in here and the lip goes over. Creates a nice kind of airtight seal there, and it's designed to where when it fits on top of the stock tank, it'll fit just like it's sitting right here, nice and tight, so that way cold air can't come through and inside the tank cool off and get around the edges. So I'm trying to block off all the air. The other thing that I decided to do in this design, I've seen some other designs online and on YouTube. They were kind of built with the stock tank inside of the box. Well, posed a couple of issues for me. First one, I didn't want to have to go out and buy another stock tank. I wanted to be able to use the same stock tank in the summer as in the winter. So I wanted to build an insulation box to where I can take out, use it during the winter, in the summer, take it away and just use the regular stock tank. The other thing is, I don't use the little drains on these tanks. And I'm sure most of you know algae likes to grow in these tanks, so at least a couple times a month I'm tipping the tank over with whatever water is left in there, hosing out the algae and putting in clean water, so it's not just always adding water to the tank. So with that, I decided to make a design to where maybe in the winter I might do it once a month. I can actually just dump the tank, and with the designs I've seen on the internet and on YouTube, I don't really know how you would do that because the tank is built inside the box. It's all one solid piece. With my design here, what I've done is I have a 2x6 platform that I made. I think I have two 2x6 joists running underneath along the side here inside. I would pick it up and show you, but again, it's wet paint. And then I put OSB on top of that. And then there's 2x2s along the edges, and it's measured perfectly to where I can go and I can put this out on level ground where I'm going to put the tank at, put the tank on top of it, right there in the center, and then my little box there will fit on top of that. You'll also notice that I have went ahead and caulked all the joints. Just use some Sherwin-Williams 950A caulking just to caulk all the joints so that way water can't seep through and get in between the wood and all that stuff. I do plan on painting all of this exposed OSB, and I'll also paint the 2-inch insulation foam as well. And then on the other side here, I have to do the same thing for the bottom side. I'll get that lip painted and do the hole underneath of that OSB or the insulation foam. That way, hopefully, water can't penetrate it as well. I understand it's probably going to become an issue somewhere down the point where moisture might get in there, but again, it's going to be during the winter. It's not going to be during the summer when there's going to be a lot of, it's not really even humid over here, but since it's near a water source, there's a chance of moisture getting into that foam. So trying to seal it off with both the caulking and the paint. Also, on this lid, I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but I went ahead and I used the caulking like putty, and I just, because when you cut this insulation foam, it leaves it pretty porous. So I used caulking as putty to kind of seal it in, let it dry for a day, and then paint it over it. And I also use that on the same as the inside the OSB, because this is where most of the water is going to be. So along that edge and on the OSB and the insulation foam, went ahead, caulked it as like with the putty, like I said, painted over that, and hopefully that'll really keep water from penetrating in there, because as I see it, that's probably going to be the weakest point to where water will be able to enter that foam and create a mess. So in theory, here, hopefully in the next couple days, I'll have this thing painted. It'll be dry enough, and I'll be able to level out some ground out there, set this platform down, then be able to move my 100-gallon stock tank, fit it right on top of my platform. I'll be able to move this box and surround the tank, and then finally put the lid on. Like I said, I'm not planning on fastening the lid down. I might just put a few screws on each side just to keep it from popping off, but I don't think it will. When I put it on there, I've cut that foam pretty precisely to where it makes a pretty nice, snug, tight fit. And it should be good to go. One last thing, I'm using black paint to hopefully attract as much sunlight during the day as possible to hopefully warm up the tank as much as possible to store that energy. That way in the cold at night, it has a little bit of a chance to store that energy and keep from freezing over. Also, during those cold days, hopefully get a little bit of that energy from the sun. For the paint, I'm just using all surface enamel here from Sherwin-Williams. Ended up needing 2 quarts. This is my second quart. It's just the satin, stock black, water base, so it's really easy to work with. It'll be pretty durable. I shouldn't have any issues with that. I'm guessing maybe every season if I have to repaint it just to keep the wood protected, I will, but it shouldn't be a big deal. Should be a pretty low maintenance system. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. Go ahead and give me any suggestions as well. We'll see if this works well. I'll post another video and kind of maybe let you know some suggestions or some changes that I made to my system here. Give any tips that I find out later. Well, since tomorrow's Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I know you probably will be watching this video not around Thanksgiving, but oh well. Have a good day. Thanks for watching.